Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Thank you to this week's sponsor, Business Finance Capital.
At BFC, we specialize in the SBA 504 program. This program allows small businesses to gain 90% financing when they're purchasing real estate. The SBA rate is fixed and amortized over 20 years, which is great for business owners because they don't know where interest rates are going to be going over the next 2, 3, 10 years. So it's really a rewarding feeling to be able to help people who are working in their garage or renting at a really high rate to be able to own their building, gain some equity, and have something to show for their company.
Last week, Lance Sexton did a great webinar on, what do you do when your borrower is 31 days delinquent? Here's a conversation, rather a lecture that he had about what SBA lenders need to do with site visits.
And site visits. Site visits, it's an important topic. And you know, there's a lot of people who think that SBA indicates that a site visit has to do on an annual basis. There's nowhere in the SOP that says you have to do a site visit on an annual basis, but it is very clear with SBA that a site visit has to be conducted on a loan that's in liquidation. Site visits must be conducted, and they identify the time frame, guys. They come in on a loan that is a payment default loan, a loan that's become 60 days past due. That site visit must be conducted within 60 days of the default. So if the loan is 60 days past due, you have 60 days from that date to complete the site visit. On a non-payment default, we talked about adverse events like litigation, bankruptcy, business closure. That site visit has to be conducted within 15 days of the bank or the institution's notification of that adverse event. So if you receive a bankruptcy notice in the mail and you review it and think it's going to be problematic for the small business borrower, you've got 15 days to get the site visit done. In the case of payment default, guys, even though it identifies 60 days as the requirement, I have never let 60 days pass or never even got close to 60 days. I'm out doing the site visit as soon as humanly possible. Being someone that's been in the liquidation game for a long time, a lot of things can happen to collateral, and one of the imperative roles that you have as an SBA servicer is to care and preserve the collateral. So even though the requirement is 60 days from the default date, you need to get out there as soon as possible and get that site inspection conducted.
In another portion of the webinar, Lance talked about defining an adverse effect. Not every adverse effect automatically puts the loan into liquidation.
Another circumstance that allows you to put a loan into liquidation is when an adverse event occurs. An adverse event would be a bankruptcy filing by the business entity or the guarantors. It could be litigation that is filed against the business or the guarantors, or it could be the closure of the business. And guys, I've been in servicing related to SBA loans for quite some time, and it's happened multiple times in my career where I had an SBA loan. I thought everything is going well. I'm driving down the road and I look to the left to a business I've made a loan to, and the doors are closed and it's dark. So adverse events can also cause you to put an SBA loan into liquidation. Now, part of the reason that I ask you to use prudent servicing standards when putting a loan into liquidation, your PAIR score, which is SBA's kind of scorecard of your lending institution and how well they're doing as an SBA lender, when you put loans into liquidation, there are a couple of places within the PAIR score where that has an impact. So you want to make sure when you put an SBA loan into liquidation, it certainly needs to be in there. And the adverse event category is one where you have to use prudent lending sense. As an example, let's say you have an SBA loan with 3 guarantors and a business entity. and the business entity's doing fine, the two primary guarantors are doing fine, and a minor secondary or a minor guarantor, say a 20% owner, who, you've got two others who have 40 and 40 and the business is doing fine, the 20% owner files bankruptcy. So not every bankruptcy filing will cause you to put an SBA loan into liquidation. Same thing with litigation. I owned a retail store for 7 years. It's hard to own a business without some litigation occurring during the life of that business. Some is incredibly impactful on the ability to repay the loan, some's not. So you as a prudent lender have to look at the litigation and evaluate how this is going to impact the repayment ability of the small business. Closure of the business, it's a tough topic. I get questions on this all the time. If you've got somebody that continues to pay the loan and you engage the guarantors and they plan to continue to pay the loan, the collateral is still in place, closure of business may not cause you to put it in liquidation. But if it's a straight out business closure, they've moved some of the collateral items, the guarantor's not cooperative, that would cause you to put it in litigation. So again, once you put it in liquidation, if it's more than 60 days past due and there's no workout plan in place, it should go into liquidation. If adverse events occur, as a prudent SBA servicer, you're going to evaluate it and what impact that adverse event will have on the borrower's ability to repay the loan. And if it has a negative impact, then that will cause you to put the loan in liquidation.
Last week, Lance and I had a discussion on the proper way your borrower should prepare the projections for your underwriter.
Very good. Yeah, SOP doesn't say, correct, Lance?
It really doesn't, but I also like the other answers too, Bob. Even though the SOP...
It's a trick question.
Even though the other SOP is not specific on how they should be prepared, I like detailed projections, and those other responses also indicate a good, thorough, detailed projection.
And the takeaway is that you, as a prudent lender, can demand the format. If you want that, you can say, I need this. The SOP doesn't say it, but you as a prudent underwriter say, no, I think I want to the borrower, and I want to see the monthly projections.
Well, Bob, you threw up an Inspector General's case a week or so ago where, I think it was last week or the week before, where the projections were way out of whack. I mean, they were projecting a net income of 30%. Which leads me to say, get the borrower to sign and date the projections. That shows that they've seen and are aware of what they are. Sometimes projections might be prepared by a small business development center. They might be prepared by BDO, might be prepared by their accountant. But I like to get the signature and date on those projections just to show that the borrower has knowledge of those projections.
They know what the numbers are. Yeah, how are you going to do it? Lance, I've always said, I would rather have projections handwritten. What are you going to do for the next 12 months? And my sales are going to be this and and I'll sign it, as opposed to, oh, here, my CPA prepared this, the loan packager prepared this. I don't know what's in it.
Bob, one of the best SBA loans I think I've ever had an opportunity to participate was a guy who owned a sawmill. And he came in, I don't know if you remember the Big Chief notebooks back in elementary school. I don't think they make them anymore, but his projections were written out month by month in pencil in a Big Chief notebook. And they were very detailed. There was a summary of assumptions, and it was a great SBA loan. So, I mean, sometimes, like Bob says, it's okay if they're handwritten, as long as they're detailed and have good information in them.
Finally, part of our America West videos, Mirmiam Voight, CDC Ventures, tells us what she does. Mirmiam Voight, Director of Sales and Support. I always get that one wrong. CDC Ventures out of San Diego. What do you do, Mirmiam?
Well, thank you for having me. We actually provide software services for lenders. We make their lending experience a lot more smoother, easier to manage.
Okay, be more specific. Software services encompass a lot of stuff. So. Software
services, packaging, underwriting, servicing, you name it, payment tracking, CRM. We're a one-stop software
How'd you get into this business? Because you and I were talking, you didn't start as a software developer.
No, I didn't. Our parent company actually started CDC Ventures, a software company, and over the years the need evolved in the industry for something to step in and help out lenders. And by us stepping in and providing the software services for the lending industry, we realized that we could also help other lenders with their programs.
Now, are you centered to just 504 lending or 7A? Or tell me about that.
We're actually, we started 504 programming, and then we expanded to the 7A platform. So our Ventures platform actually talks to SBA's E-Tran platform. You can process, underwrite, service any type of loan, commercially, non-SBA, any type of loan program.
How does your program differ from SBA 1?
You get to keep your data in-house. SBA 1 is SBA's property. As CDC Ventures, you get to house your own database.
Thank you very, very much for describing what you do, Mirmiam.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today for the Coleman Report Update and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.